it's almost like taking a hobby and turning it into a career. It's like, why would you want to take something you love and turn it into a job?
Well, to sum it up, I'll say this. It's about having freedom of choices. And when you create a company that has a great leadership team and you have systems and processes in place and you have vision that is a big picture vision that you can share with your team and your customers, then you have freedom to choose how you want to spend your day. Do you want to be in your business today? Do you want to just manage? Do you want to be a visionary and leave for a week or come back 2 weeks later? You just need to set yourself up to be able to have those choices. Otherwise, you're just an employee of yourself. And I was for a long time.
Welcome to Constructive Interference, where visionaries sharpen visionaries. I'm your host, Rufus Crescent. Diving into the minds of those who dare to dream big and innovate boldly. Join me as we explore their stories, uncover their challenges, and learn from their journeys. Let's get inspired and sharpen our visions together. Welcome to another episode of Constructive Interference, and we have Kristi Boccato here with the Retail Lab. So welcome, Kristi. Thank you for being a guest on my podcast.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I am living the dream.
Awesome. Well, so constructive interference is when you get two vibrations that are in the same frequency. When they come together and they overlap, they amplify.
Okay.
So that's the whole idea, is that I love talking shop. I love talking with other vision-driven entrepreneurs, talking about business. It's fun for us. You know, we don't have to necessarily turn this part of our brain off. We get to amplify it. And it's the concept of iron sharpens iron, visionaries sharpen visionaries. And it's these conversations that pull our genius from one another. It takes another person to see us and hear us. So that's what we want to do here. But before we do that, I want the audience to kind of get to know you. So I'm going to have some fun rapid fire questions.
Oh,
so,
gosh. Okay.
I know. So nothing you prepared for. Favorite book of all time? Start with an easy one.
Favorite book of all time?
Yeah.
Oh, It Ends With Us.
It Ends With Us.
Yes.
Didn't they just make a movie of that?
Yes.
Okay. Did the movie do it justice?
It was close.
It was close.
Yeah.
Right
Book
there?
was better. Always.
Okay. Always better. First concert?
Duran Duran.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm showing my age.
That's okay. Hey, I'm right there with you. My sister had Duran Duran posters up on her wall. I can name all the original members. I have all the albums.
I cannot do that.
So I'm a fanboy. Yes. So, are you still a fan?
No.
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 You grew out of that stage.
I'm out of that stage.
Are you a night person? Or
No,
a
I'm a
person?
morning person.
Really?
Yes. Bright and early.
Okay.
5 a.m. for no reason.
So people that wake up at 5 a.m., I've tried it, but I've discovered that I think it's for people who hate themselves. They wake up at 5. I enjoy sleep way too much, but all the fun stuff happens at night. I don't know. So, but I know that's just me. But no, I do see the value in waking up at 5 and having the house all to yourself. There's so much can be done. You can get your workout done, just get your day started, really have all that quiet time. Then you start your day.
My creative side comes out early.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So let's kind of jump into kind of your journey. Now, when I met you, we met through a networking group. We used your company for many years. We still do, actually. Not your company anymore. You've since sold the Basketry. Now, how did you start that business?
So the first vision came in 1990 in my college dorm room.
Okay.
I started it after college, 1995, officially. And I did so because back in the day, there were no options to send gifts, just flowers. And I wasn't the first to think of it. I went to work for a company that did something similar, and I thought, I could do this better. I could do this bigger. And so once I graduated from college, I was locked in. I knew what I needed to do to make my company become big. And it didn't happen overnight. Obviously, it took a long time, but I knew where I wanted to go with it.
Was this born out of necessity or out of creativity?
No, total creativity.
So you didn't need to do it. It was just something that was a creative outlet for you?
Well, I graduated from college. I needed a job, but money was never the driving factor. The main thing was if I could create something beautiful that people loved, people would come back, and then everyone would be happy, and then the money would come. And that's just exactly how it happened.
So it was very much a very creative outlet, very artistic outlet for you. Were you always that type of a person?
Yes. But I also had a very strong and very natural business brain. So I knew that I also had to tap into that. So if I could take my creative side and my business side and put it together, I knew I would be in an industry that I would love for a really, really long time.
So it could have been any industry.
It really could have. I just naturally fell into that because I fell in love with the gifting aspect. It's fun to send gifts to people or to receive gifts even, right?
And what I do remember about working with you is that you took it so personal. It was very much, it wasn't just, here, check this box, let's just pull something off the shelf. It's like, Rivers, tell me more about this client that you're sending something to. What are they into? What are they like? And then you would come, and I'm already a creative force of myself, so I'm thinking, if it's not going to come from me, it's not going to come from anywhere. But here you are coming with ideas. I'm like, oh, I like that. I didn't think of that. Yeah. So I really admired that you could match and exceed my level of creativity. So that was pretty cool.
You were a tough client because you are very creative. And you asked for some really cool stuff, but that also challenged me, and I enjoyed that. The problem with that concept, though, is it wasn't scalable. I still loved it, but I knew that in order for me to get to the next level, I had to offer less of that and more of the off-the-shelf stuff, and I didn't want that.
All right. So it's the quality control, the experience that you would, and that was part of the reward, I would imagine, is that the experiences that you were cultivating, that you were creating for your not only the people who were receiving the gifts, but the people who were giving the gifts. And that's always been my philosophy with even gift giving is, that's why I don't like registries. I understand why we have registries, but the wish list and all that, it's like, I give gifts because it's something that I want you to have, not necessarily it's something that you want. Whether you keep it or not, it doesn't matter. It's how I feel giving this, because it's usually it's a reflection of something that's important to me that I want you to have.
Yeah, no doubt. And I can tell that in the gifts you give. You give great gifts.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, you do.
So you built this business and you reached a certain pinnacle, and that's when you decided to move on and do something else. Kind of take me through that what was kind of going on in your life at that time. What were you feeling? What were you trying to do there?
I guess, well, I'll say this. I remember the moment I decided it was time for me to think about selling. And it came on a vacation with my kids. We were having breakfast, and I got a phone call from a client, a really good client, equal to you, you know, like you had my personal cell. You would call me or text me, right? So this person calls me, and she's complaining about something that happened, and 45 minutes later, I've missed this time with my kids. And I hung up the phone, and I said, guys, I'm selling my store. And they knew I was serious, because, I mean, I had probably said it a few times and didn't mean it, but they knew I meant it. And my son, who was 19, I think at the time, said, why don't you just let other people take these calls? I mean, you're the business owner. And he was so smart, and I don't know. I just said, I don't know. I just take them. And in that moment, I realized two things. Number one, I needed a team-managed company, and I needed to figure that out. And number two, I was ready to start the exit process. Not because I didn't love my company. I loved my company, but it was just time. It was time for someone else to take the reins and to take it to the next level. And I was, knocking on the door 50 at the time, so I always thought, it'd be really cool to be retired for 50. So that was another part of the puzzle.
So it kind of ran its course, and it was, were you finding that it was robbing you of the time that you were spending with your kids by being on that call?
I guess, but it had robbed me of time with my kids my whole life, because I always put business and customers in front of my kids. I know that sounds really bad, but I can remember so many times when I did that, because I was a hard worker and I thought that's what I wanted, or my customers needed things at certain times, and it just happened to come during softball games or things, sporting events or whatever with my kids. So I put customers first, and I think it showed in my work, because people loved and continued to come back to my business. But at the same time, I just realized there's a better way, and I need to figure this out. And ultimately, that's what I teach my clients to do now. But in the moment, I didn't know really what I was saying. What I was saying was I needed a team managed company that can operate without me. Mm-hmm. And I needed a scalable business that didn't necessarily need me.
So you didn't really own a business. You worked for a company that owned you.
I worked, I was an employee of myself.
Yeah,
yes,
right.
100%.
And that starts to breed burnout, I would imagine.
Yeah, it does. And you start to question, how long am I going to be able to sustain this?
Mm-hmm. So if I find when I work with business owners and they start looking at their exit strategy, sometimes it's for the right reason, but other times it's for all the wrong reasons. And it's really driven by that burnout. It's the passion that they once had to be a technician in their business. All of a sudden, they don't get to do those jobs anymore. They're just pulled in so many different directions that they don't have a passion for. And that's where that burnout starts to kind of exist. And so all they can think about is the pain associated with having this business own them, and they want to get away from it. If they only knew there was another way to where they can start getting control of that business and basically having it to where they can still be in a technician, maybe even at a coach level, or to train other people to replace themselves, but to move on to that next thing instead of being constantly pulled back in to either being a technician and having that burnout, or even worse, not being allowed to do something that you're passionate about. It's almost like taking a hobby and turning it into a career. It's like, why would you want to take something you love and turn it into a job?
Well, to sum it up, I'll say this. It's about having freedom of choices. And when you create a company that has a great leadership team, and you have systems and processes in place, and you have vision that is a big picture vision that you can share with your team and your customers, then you have freedom to choose how you want to spend your day. Do you want to be in your business today? Do you want to just manage? Do you want to be a visionary and leave for a week or come back 2 weeks later? You just need to set yourself up to be able to have those choices. Otherwise, you're just an employee of yourself. And I was for a long time.
So you started to evolve into creating systems and creating or developing people in leadership roles as you started preparing for the sale. So you wanted this to be somewhat of a self-sustaining company to where you can just turn over the keys and say, all right, I have this thing humming. Don't mess anything up. It runs itself.
Yep. So I also got great coaching and learned a lot in that coaching year. One thing was there's 4 quadrants in any business: sales, marketing, traffic, and operations. And in those 4 quadrants, I could not be in any one of them. So my goal, how I started, was I put myself in one quadrant. That was my zone of genius. I drove that ship, and then I found leaders to go in the other 3. And then once that was working for a little while, I replaced myself in mine. And when I stepped back and realized, wow, I really don't have any jobs. I literally have nothing to do. I mean, I can call Rufus, see how he's doing. Does he need any gifts this week? But that's sales job, right? Then I realized I have a team-led company, and they don't need me anymore. They don't need me in meetings. They're running meetings. They don't need me in marketing. They can make decisions. I'm not the bottleneck. I'm not holding anyone back from growing. A magical thing happened. The culture shifted and became way better because no one's being micromanaged. I was happier, so then everyone else was happier, and it became a fun place to work.
It's amazing what happens when you step away. And I find that's interesting because when we're the founders of the business, we've created a culture to where we don't allow the people under us to fail too much, because a failure for them costs money to us.
Exactly.
So if they never learned how to fail, they don't know how to take risk. And by me being in all these meetings, it's like they'll start going in a direction, which I know is the wrong direction. I've been there, done that.
Right.
It's like, I'll save you the time and the trouble, and I squash that idea. So I'm ultimately, what I'm doing, I'm squashing all creativity.
Yep.
And so they know never to step on that landmine again. They say, I don't have an interesting idea, I'm going to put it out there and have Rufus just beat me up over it. So we have so much more productive meetings when I'm not there.
Yeah.
So that is just, it's an interesting aspect, because it's like, how do you train that next gen to come up and step up and be in leadership if you don't give them the capacity and in the space to well, not only fail, but to take risk and understand and measure risk and reward and make executive decisions, because you're the enabler. They're the ones, well, let's run it by Kristi and see what she thinks, because we need her final approval because we don't want to get in trouble.
Right.
So it's a slippery slope there, but it's almost like they don't know how good they are until you go away. You don't know how good they are until you go away. So that's an important thing that I think most owner-operated business owners, they're just too much in their business.
They're in the way.
Right, they're in the way. Right. So you've built this company. You have probably several different people interested in buying. You settle on one. You've sold that business and you've moved on to what now?
So before I sold, I had business owners calling me a lot to ask for advice, and I just gave it, right? I didn't monetize it. I wasn't officially coaching, but I helped a lot of people along the way, because, I was the older person in the game, right? All these new boutiques or retail stores would open and they would ask for advice. So after I sold and I took a little vacation, I realized I have way too many gifts to keep inside of this brain. And of course, an entrepreneur brain just doesn't stop. So naturally, I started answering questions and I just put money around it, and I became a retail business coach. And I focused on retail because I knew retail. And I knew where all of these people were. I felt their pain. I literally sometimes just want to fix it for them. And I know I can't, but that is how the Retail Lab came about. It started as, I'm going to start an online course and launch this and help a lot of people. And I'm going to do one-to-one coaching and help some people, because obviously I can't help everyone if you do one-to-one. Then what I realized along the journey was I really enjoyed one-to-one. I don't like being totally busy, right? I was like that forever. I like having a little freedom in my life, and I don't, I want to pick and choose when I work and how much I work. So I'm enjoying my customers. They're enjoying me. I'm helping them grow and helping them from making tremendous amount of mistakes that I made, like really saving them a ton of money. So it's fun.
So, but then again, you're up against scalability.
I'm 100% up against scalability.
So what do you do about it?
Well, I am moving forward with my online course because I have to. But I also, I have a real estate business on the side, so I'm an investor. And I also am okay I don't have that money-driven mindset that I used to. I'm okay being chill. I am totally okay with slow days.
So that's the reward, is to be able to go deep versus go wide. I think the online course is going wide and helping more people, but only so far. It takes the quality of time for you to dive in. But the interesting thing I'm observing is that you see these people and they finally feel seen. Yeah. Because I would imagine in retail, or just any business for that matter, it's who are they going to complain to? Yeah. Are they going to go home and tell their spouse, significant other, all their challenges? And sure, those people can hold the space and hear them and listen to them, but do they really hear them? It takes sometimes another visionary to say, I do see you, and they feel seen, and that's when you're putting yourself in a position. First of all, they're in a position to be vulnerable and really open up to you and say, okay, here's the root of the issues that you're having. I've been there before, but now you get to show empathy.
Yeah, it's great when I'm able to really open up because I feel safe too, and I'm able to talk about the struggles I went through because I didn't talk about that in my business. Because again, who am I going to talk about that to?
Right.
So now I also get to share those days when I sat in my driveway and checked my checking accounts to make sure I could sleep at night because there was money there. Or how am I going to pay these employees at the end of the week because I literally have no cash flow coming in. I had all of those problems. And then I had so many wins too along my journey. So I'm able to experience share. And I never tell them what they should do because I feel like people know what they should do. I just experience share and I listen to them and then offer suggestions that I know are going to get them unstuck.
There's a saying I like to go to is that we reject what we reject what we're told. We embrace what we discover.
Yeah.
And I think when you can present it that way, even if you want to give advice, ask permission to give advice. Look, I can tell you from my experience, but when you're not telling them what to do and you're giving them your experience, then they can take it or leave it. But at least, you're letting them be the hero in the story.
Yeah.
Being a coach, God, that's the hardest part, I would imagine. Well, not hardest part, but a hard part is that you already know how to fix it. You can be the hero in that story, but that's not your job. You're Yoda. They're Luke Skywalker, right?
And they pay me to tell them what to do sometimes too, and so they ask, help me get out of this situation, or what do I do about all of this inventory, or I have the wrong inventory and I have to go back to market. I'm a bad buyer. Will you help me buy better? Or I'd like to get into gifting. How do I do that? What are the steps to shift my inventory a little bit? All businesses have the same issues. I mean, between cash flow, teams, systems and processes, finances. I mean, we all struggle with the same stuff. Retail is a hard game because you're tied to your hours. If you can't afford employees, then you're the one there, opening and closing. You just don't have any freedom. And that's hard, because these people have lives too. So if I could, squeeze out a little extra revenue for them to be able to afford an employee or help them with hiring, I mean, it's just a game changer for them.
So how does it start though? So they say, okay, we heard about you. You're a coach. I want to hire you. Is there like this big just data gathering, this data dump, or just this audit of the business that says, or are they trying to solve for a problem that they don't really know what the root issue of the problem is?
Well, they find me a few ways, and sometimes I find them. But there's an onboarding process, a series of questions I need to know before I even decide if that person is good for me and I'm good for them, because I definitely want it to be a fit. So once I find out, what are your top 5 or 10 struggles that I could fix right now if you hired me, then I have a few packages from $250 to $2,900. So you can get me for an hour, you can get me for 12 weeks. And there's a couple of little packages in between because everyone's different. I helped a store open from scratch, literally from an idea, all the way from going to market, helping them build their standard operating procedures, build their team, and set up, design, and display their store and get them ready for open. And I have clients that have been open for 20 years and are just completely done and stuck and have no website. So it's really one extreme to the other. So through my onboarding process, I find out what their needs are, and then I just do an assessment, like an action plan. This is what I would recommend. And sometimes they want to hire me for 12 weeks, and I tell them, no, you really don't need me that long. You need me for a month. And then let's evaluate what's happened after this month. So, because I want them to win, and I don't want too many clients. They need me 100%, and I don't want to be that busy. So,
do you help them recognize that they need some type of a leadership team, that they're too much in their business, that they need to, that they're more valuable as the founder, doing more high-skilled tasks and hiring?
100%. Some of them will get there. They're just not ready. It takes time. I mean, you have to work in your business for a little while before you have money to hire people, right? But then I also believe that when you make that first good hire and you're smart about that hire, that person's not an expense, right? That person is a revenue-driven team member. And then once you have that first person finds your second person. And then the first and the second find your third. So now you have a team-building process, and these are not employees. This is a team, and there's a difference. So I do encourage that at some point when it's right to talk about that. Because it's really the only way for the owner to get out and to work in their zone of genius instead of being in everything.
Right.
You can't be everywhere.
Now, do you help them implement a leadership team?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
do you use an operating system?
Well, to develop their leadership team? No. I look at common sense. Look at your team. What is each person's zone of genius? What are they really, really good at? And if you know your team, you know, this person's really good at sales, but maybe they're really, really shy and they can't talk to people. Well, then they can't be in sales, but they're really good. So where can we put them so everything fits and works and it works together?
Okay.
It's just a matter of looking at your team and just polishing who you have, or unfortunately getting rid of those people and finding new people. But
I believe you turned me on to a book once. I think it was Scale or Fail.
yeah,
Is that
Allison Maslin.
right? Now that was your coach for a while.
So she is the founder of Pinnacle Global Network.
Okay.
I was a member of that group, and I had a mentor. So I was coach for a year, and then they helped me build my team and exit. And now I'm a mentor for that company.
Okay.
So I have my own pins, they call them, in that organization.
Okay. So that is kind of your go-to playbook for businesses? Is kind of
Not
what
really. I follow her playbook. I have developed my own that fits retail specific. So it is different. A lot of the same things cross because, teams are teams and cash flow is cash flow. But I use my own signature process called Boss Up to take my clients through, and every letter stands for a process. And so the first is boss mindset, and that last one is P, prepare for exit. So there's a lot of things in between.
So preparing for exit, that's an interesting. So that's why you said something earlier about how they can hire that first employee, then the second employee. What you're helping them do is get them out of their business and I like to say it's hard to read the label when you're inside the jar.
Yes.
Right? So you got to have someone else, and that's why I'm saying visionaries can sharpen other visionaries, because it takes someone that says, I see you, I understand where you're at, let me hold up a mirror and show you what I see. And I think with business owners, that's why I love when they come to me and say, I'm not the typical financial planner that you're going to work with. I don't necessarily need you to invest with me. I think you have a really good business. Let's make smart investment decisions in your business. That's a much better trajectory for growing your wealth.
Yeah.
People that don't have businesses, well, yeah, they got to do the traditional things with traditional financial advisors and do the same. And I do that part of it as well. But I think it's the part of being able to say, I don't want a little bit of money from you now. I want a lot of money from you later. How do we go there?
Yeah.
And through what I even do with the financial planning is help them understand what that value gap, that wealth gap is. Okay, you're here, you want to be here. We need to fill that gap with something. Either you save a lot of money or we grow the enterprise value of your company. And that's blows my mind and you see it happen when I'm having conversations. It's like, wow, you've never really thought about the enterprise value of your company. You knew it existed, but never really given it serious thought in terms of an investor in your business. Not an absentee owner, but an investor saying, how can I take some of this money and make smart decisions and have it grow? And without any kind of a guidance, they didn't go to school to be a business owner. They probably were in retail before and said, hey, I'm really good at this. I got a good idea. I'm going to start my own retail shop. But to kind of begin with the end in mind that says, okay, you have an enterprise value. You get this is a very important way that you get paid. You pay yourself a salary, you get your paid profits, but you neglect probably one of the most important ways that you get paid, and that is that enterprise value, that year-over-year growth, that one day you either sell or you don't have to sell. And there's the mindset that I have when I talk to my business owners that says, make every decision as if you're going to keep your company forever. Make every decision if you're going to sell it tomorrow. Mm-hmm. It's the same mindset. Just because you were growing it to sell does not mean you have to sell.
Right.
But what that is a reflection of is you're running it the way you did with even the Basketry, is you are now able to step outside of the business and be an investor in your business, and then choose to say, okay, I can either keep it and cash flow it, or I can sell it.
Right.
Which is perfect. There's no wrong answer. It just depends on where you are in your journey. So that's I'm catching that's the conversations that you're changing that mindset with these business owners, that no one's ever told them these things before.
No, and they don't understand money. No, I shouldn't say they. Some do, but the majority of retail business owners don't understand the money mindset part of their business. Mm-hmm. They don't look at their P&Ls. Mm-hmm. They just make sure we have money in the checking account, mm-hmm. because they're creative. And they just want to do the creative stuff. Mm-hmm. And so it's very interesting when I start having conversations around cost of goods sold and, your expenses. And are you operating like you're going to sell tomorrow? I mean, are you lean on your expenses? Are you just running everything through your business and you don't care? So every month you have a negative net profit. Mm. You have to operate your business like you're going to sell it, because one day you might, and you just don't. You want to be smart.
Voluntary or involuntary, your business is going to change hands, or it's going to die with you.
I mean, there's only so many ways out. Like,
right.
There's only so. I mean, you're going to die, or you're going to leave it behind.
Well, that's the other thing too. You got to look at that and say, okay, if I were to die an untimely death, does this business die with me? Am I too attached to the day-to-day operations that the people that are relying on this mm-hmm. business to survive without me? I'm responsible for other people's livelihoods. I think you owe it to those people that you need to be the best business owner that you can, and make sure there's that continuity plan that says, hey, look, chances are, odds are in my favor, nothing bad's going to happen. But if it did, we have an exit strategy that says you're going to be just fine. You don't mm-hmm. have to go polish off your resume. You can continue on the career path that you're on. Mm-hmm. I think to do otherwise is just irresponsible as a business owner, personally. Yeah. But anyways.
Good point.
Yeah. So you had mentioned something that's interesting. You talked a little bit about that initial interview and those questions, mm-hmm. Trying to figure out whether or not you can help, whether or not they want your help, but mm-hmm. you're looking for the right fit.
Yeah.
What is the right fit? Where are they in their journey that they would work with you?
Retail in general, most of my clients are the right fit. The people that have not been the right fit are, people who are so small and their website is so bad and their social medias are non-existent. And they just aren't coachable. Mm-hmm. And I just can't do anything with that.
Like, they already have it figured out.
You have to want to grow. You have to want to listen and learn and be coachable.
So humility.
Yeah. And I like brick and mortar businesses, although mm-hmm. I do have a few customers that are online only. And I'm not opposed to non-retail. I mean, I can help other people that are not retail. I just love retail, and I can relate to them. I am them. In so many parts of my journey of 28 years, I at one point didn't have a website. Obviously didn't have social media. My business was born way before all of that, and so as I went through and had to navigate the changes and pivot through awful hurricanes and pandemics and just 2008 and other major things that happened. I mean, there were days when I had zero sales. I can relate to how these people feel. Like this summer has been awful for retail. Mm-hmm. But they're pulling through and they're planning for Christmas. And I tell them, don't worry, Santa Claus comes. No matter who's president, Santa Claus is coming and people are going to spend money.
Yes. And
corporations need gifts, and you just have to be there and have a pretty product and have great customer service.
Luckily, we live in a society where people buy what they want, not necessarily what they need.
Yeah.
So it's
I remind them of this. This is how women relate. You never go to Trader Joe's and see the flower section full. Mm. You always see people just picking at it all day long and then empty. No one needs any of those flowers right when you walk into Trader Joe's.
No.
So there you go. It's a want, not a need.
So how would I refer you? What would I be looking for? What would someone say to me that says, Kristi's the perfect fit for you?
Oh, well, I think someone obviously who is a business owner who might be struggling, but I don't know that you would ever hear that. I think it's just an observation, to be honest. Like, if you,
I get to be pretty intimate with
you
looking
do.
under the
Yeah,
hood
you do,
of a lot of
but
businesses.
I guess your listeners might not, but you do. I do give you that. But it's an observation. You know, how's their website? How do they look? Like, how does their business look? Does it look healthy? And if it doesn't, you know, sometimes I'll just ask, hey, you know, where are you? Do you need help? I mean, I've been there. I'm happy to help you, support you.
It seems to me it's just a question of what do you want for yourself?
Yeah.
Where are you going with your business? And what's your plan to get there? If they look like a deer in the headlights, I'm like, you don't know, do you?
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Admit that you don't know. And that's that humility of being able to say, I want help. I need help. And I think what's really cool about you is that you can look, my thing with wisdom is it doesn't come easily or cheaply. You want to be able to, if you don't know how to do something, and I don't know about you, but I don't know when the last time you did something for the first time and got it right the first time.
No.
So most time you have to fail at it a few times.
Yeah.
Or you can skip the line and just go ask someone that's done it
Right.
and say, how did you do that?
Right,
And they'll
right,
tell you.
right.
Or you can hire them and they'll tell you. And I think that's just such a smarter way to invest in your business. You're thinking like, well, do I need this product, or do I need this software system, or do I need this marketing? It's like, yes, all those are important, but maybe the first investment should be in getting yourself a coach that can help you from the costly mistakes, because your marketing campaign does not make sense right now if you don't have the capacity to fill it.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
and I think that's uncovering what the real pain is, what the real problem is with the business, is that they can't get there on their own. They can't go complain to their employees or their spouse. They need to be able to say, here's the real pain that I'm feeling, help me.
Well, when I reached a point in my career where I felt pain in my business, Allison Maslin said, what got you here will not get you there. And that is what I bought into. And I'm so glad I did, because it changed my life. And the same holds true for my customers. You know, like, they've done great, but then they're stuck.
Right.
And
stuck looks like, okay, I want to double my revenue. I guess I'll just have to do more of what I've always done.
Yeah.
And I'm like, nah,
No.
you're still up against the same amount of hours in the
Yeah.
day. And ultimately you have a family, you need to balance all these things. And you can't rely if you're just going to double the hours that you work, that
Right.
the retail people are even going to come in at those hours. So you have to kind of re-engineer and just figure out what that next evolution is. So you're able to even go in there and say, why are we selling this? This is a low margin item.
Yeah.
It takes way too much time. I know your customers like it, but they don't need it from you.
yeah, I mean, we look at inventory. I also ask a very simple question. Have you ever heard of profit first? How much money do you want to make at the end of the month? Can I see your expenses? I mean, your financials tell a story. And why are all of these things in your expense column? What are you doing? You do not need that much Starbucks
Right.
every single day. We do not need to spend this much money in meals and entertainment. Little tweaks make big shifts.
Did you read that book, Profit First?
I'm in the middle of reading it.
It's fantastic.
Yes. I'm
So-
also reading The 7 Minute Conversation,
Okay, well, that's a new one.
which
I have
is
to do that one.
easy 3-day read. It's in my,
Okay.
I brought it so I can share.
I don't read. I have a mild case of dyslexia. So the fact that I have the designations that I have behind my name took a long time.
Well, I like little easy reads like that
do listen.
because
I'll do all
you
of them. Thank God
listen,
for
yeah.
Auto. I could listen 5 times faster than I could read.
Hmm.
So, but no, the Profit First was really interesting because I had been doing that system
Mm-hmm.
my entire career by telling my clients to pay themselves first.
Mm-hmm.
That I mean, you can create a budget, but budget's a lot of work.
Yeah.
You can make things simpler by simply making these savings and these goals that you have, the systematic things that you're doing as just another bill. It's like you don't look at your cell phone bill every month and be like, am I going to use my cell phone this month?
Right.
Yeah, I guess I'll pay. Do we need this light in this house? I don't know. Do we need air conditioning? It's just an automatic thing. So
Right.
what if we were to trick our mind into those biases to say, okay, well, let's start paying ourselves first. So I've been doing that for years. And then, of course, I read this book. I'm like, oh, crap.
Yeah.
I could have been doing this for my business all along. You could have written the book. So, well, I don't know about writing it, but so I do profit first, and I say, okay, I want to work at a minimum margin. I know that if I cannot produce at this minimum, then I am doing something wrong. Now, it's an early detection sign that says if my cash falls below a certain point, then my expenses are higher than they need to be. Yep. So that's when I can go into the books and say, okay, what's costing extra that normally, because I'm not at this minimum profitability. So that is kind of that, and that's the first account that gets paid from any check that comes in, not my employees, not my rent. It goes to the profit first. Now, do I borrow from there from time to time? Sure, you can do that, but it's still the discipline that it's out of sight, out of mind. Exactly. So that's a fantastic thing to even teach your. It's about adding certain layer of discipline in that they just wouldn't normally have on their own.
Well, and also in retail, they're buying inventory. And I can tell you 9 out of 10 retailers buy way too much inventory, and most of it is just crap because they're constantly chasing the next shiny object, right? Instead of focusing on what is in their vision and what fits their store. And then they don't have any money left over at the end of the month. It's just always sitting in inventory. So if I can introduce profit first, then they're just mind blown.
So how do you stay sharp as a coach? Do you have your professional networks, or how are you always getting better?
I read a lot. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I watch people, like, just see what they're doing and what in the just in the coaching industry as a whole, what are people doing to stay, relevant? Pinnacle Global Network has been a great teacher for me. Just being a mentor and just staying sharp with the other mentors, because that's a great community. I mean, we're like 50 of us, I believe, and we're all really close. So just, learning from them.
So those are your truth tellers, huh? Those
yeah,
are the people that
we meet twice a month on Zoom for 2 hours and share, and what have we done that has worked? What are we doing that is not working? But I would say a lot of what I do is just heartfelt, just being a go-giver, just really just pouring myself into my clients.
Another go-to book for me.
Yeah, that's a great book, Go-Giver. But less of knowledge and just more heart, because that's really what they need. And I've been there, so.
So what I'm hearing is, I love that you're approaching this through the right, and I'm so glad anybody that's going to see this podcast is going to really see the authentic you that is not doing this for the money. Of course, money is a scorecard that says, am I doing it right? And am I valuing my time? But I think the intention of why you're choosing the people that you work with and the impact that you're trying to make is coming from a place of absolute genuine authenticity. And I think that's you're doing it for all the right reasons. And I think you can't fake that part of it. You can't fake caring.
No,
and can't. There's no higher calling than to serve. And I think that's fantastic. So Kristi, how do we find you? How do people hire you?
Well, I have a website, retailbusinesscoaching.com. My Instagram, Kristi Boccato. That's the easy way. And I just want to stay easy. I don't want to have high-tech, difficult things, because I just feel like being simple and, like you said, just be authentic. So through Instagram, Facebook, and my website.
Fantastic.
And just text me. Awesome. Good old-fashioned phone call.
I don't know. Nowadays, you seem to always have to schedule a phone call to talk to somebody. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Don't send me an email to schedule a phone call. Just pick up the phone and call me.
Don't send me your Calendly link. What the hell?
Yes. No, just, can you talk right now, Rufus?
I'm like, if I can't, I just won't answer. How about that? Right. So
I just feel like we've gotten away from just human to human, and everything's become so complicated, and it shouldn't be.
So you hear that? So just pick up the phone and call Kristi. If you're in the retail business and you want a authentic coach that cares, that is going to dive into your business and just make meaningful impacts that help you make smart decisions, because we all kind of make dumb decisions in our business from time to time. So we do need that truth teller that tells us when to make those meaningful changes.
Yep, exactly.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Fun things.
Take care. Thanks for tuning in to Constructive Interference. If you've enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a fellow visionary. Keep dreaming big, and remember, the only limits are the ones you set for yourself. Until next time, stay sharp.